Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word. Hey, this is Passion Week, and we're going through a series that it's 6 episodes long, and it's entitled They Thought It Was the End, but it was really the beginning. We're looking at the events leading up to the crucifixion. On Friday, we will talk about the crucifixion, and then all the way up until Easter Sunday when we talk about the resurrection. Today, I wanted to look at Pilate, and Pilate was really, if you look through this whole thing, he was a lost man. He was a leader, he was a government leader, and he should have been highly respected, and he should have been leading the people, but really he was a failure. And he was really a people pleaser, and when he had the opportunity to have a relationship with God, with Jesus, he didn't pursue that. Okay, and he was just really trying to save his own skin. Okay, it never did turn out well for him. So let's read here today. We're going to be reading starting in John 18:28 and then going all the way to chapter 19, verse 16 today here. Okay, so I want you to kind of be paying attention to Jesus, but then also to Pilate, and you can compare those two here. So it says this: Jesus' trial before Caiaphas ended in the early hours of the morning. Then he was taken to the headquarters of the Roman governor. His accusers didn't go inside because it would defile them, and they wouldn't be allowed to celebrate the Passover. So Pilate the governor went out to them and asked, "What is the charge against this man?" This is really kind of a goofy and stupid thing here. These were all, like we talked about the religious aspect of this whole thing yesterday. These were all religious, like, oh, we're following God, but yet they are not they want to crucify Jesus and kill him, but we're not gonna step into Pilate's home because he's a Gentile. It's a goofy thing here. Verse 30: we wouldn't have handed him over to you if he weren't a criminal, they retorted. Then take him away and judge him by your own law, Pilate told them. Only the Romans are permitted to execute someone, the Jewish leaders replied. This fulfilled Jesus' prediction about the way he would die. Then Pilate went back into his headquarters and called for Jesus to be brought to him. Are you the king of the Jews? He asked. Jesus replied, is this your own question, or did the others tell you about me? Am I a Jew? Pilate retorted. Your own people and their leading priests brought you to me for the trial. Why? What have you done? Jesus answered, my kingdom is not an earthly kingdom. If it were, my followers would fight to keep me from being handed over to the Jewish leaders. But my kingdom is not of this world. Now, I'm sure this blew Pilate away. He's like, what in the world are you talking about? Okay? And so Pilate's probably all confused at this point. And he's really just trying to please the people and get on with things. The reason he was brought to Pilate is the Jewish leaders brought him to Pilate is because they wanted Jesus executed, but the Jewish people, the Jewish leaders didn't have the power to execute. They did in the Old Testament, okay? But when the Romans took over, the Romans took that right away, saying you can't just execute anybody. It has to go through us. And so that's why they brought Jesus to Pilate, and they're trying to make up something here, like, we gotta have you execute him. And Pilate's like, why? What did this guy do? So let's keep reading here. Verse 37, Pilate said, you are a king. Jesus resounded. You say I am a king. Actually, I've been born and came into the world to testify the truth. All who love the truth recognize that is what I say is true. What is truth? Pilate asked. Then he went out again to the people and told them, he is not guilty of a crime, but you have a custom of asking me to release one prisoner each year at Passover. Would you like me to release the king of the Jews? But they shouted back, no, not this man. We want Barabbas. Barabbas was a revolutionary. Okay, so again, Pilate is trying to get out of this, and so he makes this grand deal, like, hey, I was going to release somebody. How about I just release Jesus? But the people were like, no, release Barabbas. Okay, again, this was all an insurrection, really started by the Jewish leaders. Okay, this was all started by them, not necessarily insurrection, but it was the people were being persuaded by the Jewish leaders here. Okay, chapter 19, verse 1. Then Pilate had Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip. The soldiers wove a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put a purple robe on him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they mocked, as they slapped him across the face. Pilate went outside again and said to the people, "I'm going to bring out to you now, but understand clearly that I find him not guilty." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate said, "Look, here is the man." Okay, it's kind of funny that Pilate says, "I find nothing wrong with this guy, yet I just got done beating him all up." Okay, kind of foolish. Again, he's pleasing the people. He thinks if I have Jesus all beat up, maybe they'll let him go or whatever, and that'll be enough. But again, he's a people pleaser. Verse 6, when they saw him leading the priests, and the temple guards began shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." "Take him yourselves and crucify him," Pilate said. "I find him not guilty." The Jewish leaders replied, "By our own law he ought to die because he called himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was more frightened than ever. He took Jesus back into the headquarters again and asked him, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave no answer. "Why don't you talk to me?" Pilate demanded. "Don't you realize that I have the power to release you or crucify you?" Pilate's in a big quandary now. It starts off like he was more frightened than ever. That verse starts off that way. He was like, man, he doesn't know what to do. Okay, he's trying to please the people and trying to release this innocent man, and he's kind of caught up in the whole situation. Now he doesn't know what to do. Okay, so he comes, questioning Jesus, and then saying how powerful he is. And Jesus, you're going to see his reply. Jesus says, "You don't have any power except what I gave you." So let's read here. Verse 11. Then Jesus said, "You would have no power over me at all unless it were given to you from above. So the one who handed me over to you has the greater sin." Then Pilate tried to release him, but the Jewish leaders shouted, "If you release this man, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who declares himself a king is a rebel against Caesar." Real funny when they were fighting against Caesar and wanted nothing to do with Caesar before. Verse 13, when they said this, Pilate brought Jesus out to them. Then Pilate sat down on the judgment seat on the platform that is called the stone pavement, in Hebrew, Gabbatha. It was now about noon on the day of preparation for the Passover, and Pilate said to the people, "Look, here's your king." "Away with him," they yelled. "Away with him, crucify him." "What, crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar," the leading priest shouted back. Then Pilate turned Jesus over to them to be crucified. I end with that verse. It says, then Pilate turned Jesus over to them to be crucified. Okay? Pilate had the opportunity to do the right thing, but he was a people pleaser. Okay? He wasn't out to please the Lord, that's for sure. He was a people pleaser. My question today is, who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please the Lord in the way you live and the way you serve him? Or are you a people pleaser trying to do, and you will see, mark my words, if you are a people pleaser, you're going to get into a position where you have to deny Jesus. You have to turn away from Jesus, because to please people, the crowd is going to be moving away from Jesus. The crowd is not fully devoted to Jesus. And that's what happened here with Pilate. Pilate was a people pleaser, and so it ends up he hands Jesus over. Okay, so that's my question for you today. Are you a people pleaser, or are you a Jesus follower? Hey, thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue looking at the crucifixion of Jesus and then the resurrection. Lord's blessing. I'll see you tomorrow.